I'm getting so tired. I'm getting so.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Now look, let me explain something to you. Now Brandy, she's taking this dope boy up on his offer of getting her away from all of the nonsense that she's feeling consumed by and smothered by and overwhelmed by. But what she don't understand is this. See this big dope boy? He got many hustles. Getting money in a lot of different ways. A lot of different ways. And one of those ways is prostitution. See, he messed with a lot of females. But see, these females work for him. So when he gets back from checking Keith about the situation, telling him to go on about his life. And let me explain something to you. See, a lot of people say, well, why didn't he just put Keith in the ground? Why didn't he just take care of that and get rid of him, right? I'm going to tell you something. See, most people in the game, you wouldn't even know this, but most people in the game ain't trying to bring too much heat to themselves by the police. It's the amateurs in the game that want to do the shoot 'em up and bang bang and all this and that, right? Now again, you got big cartels that do it and all this, but this is a different level of the game here. We're not talking about turf wars. We're not talking about the Sinaloa cartel against another cartel. We're not talking about that. We're talking about trying to run a legitimate operation under the guise of, you know, well, an illegal operation under the guise of a legitimate operation, and the least amount of attention you bring to the situation, the better off that you're going to be. So yeah, just push them on. Plus, if they would have laid Keith in the ground, it would have brought all kinds of other questions. Where's Brandy at? See, Brandy had done something of her own accord that made this like the perfect setup for this big dope boy. She called her mom, and she told her mom herself, not being forced to, that she was leaving. She was finna go. She's finna get away from all of this and just start her life new. And she would be in touch with her later. So he was gonna take advantage of it. So when he took her out of town, right, I'm gonna tell you what they even took. They went to the ATL, right? And when he got her there, he put her in a situation where it looks like she was gonna be able to live in the lap of luxury. That she was going to be able to have all the things that she's ever wanted. But he knew what was up with her. See, that night that she pulled up on him in the club, that's what he was there for. He was there scouting, looking for new meat. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? And she didn't even have to, listen to me, she didn't even understand what was going on, right? Because normally, it takes a whole lot more to get somebody in that way. But see, Keith, by plotting this stupid plan to try to get this money, he put his own girlfriend in harm's way. And she didn't even realize it. See, being a ride or die, she didn't even calculate or think about all the other things that were going to go down or could go down. Remember what I told you. See, when you get involved in stuff like this, you got to calculate what is the counter move, or what else could go wrong, so that I can understand what move I got to make to get it right, to make it come out the way I want it. They went about this the whole wrong way. And now she's in Atlanta. Now the dope boy, he's got her right, and he's laying down the law. He's telling her what her real purpose is going to be and how she's going to be able to live in the lap of love. He tells her, you're going to be one of my girls. She says, what do you mean? And he explains to her what it means to be one of his girls. So he have a couple of other girls come out. And when they come out, they don't have on any clothes. You know, real skimpy, put it that way. And she thinks that she's just going to be one of the girls that he spends time with, But then as he continues to talk, he explains to her that he's got clientele that look for and expect a certain type. And she fits the type of some of his high-end clientele. See, he's got clientele that's professionals, you understand, with long money, that like discretion, but they like to get kinky sometimes. So he's telling her this, and he's letting her know it's not going to be to where you don't get any money from it. You're going to benefit. But I'm going to benefit more. And from now on, he tells her, I'm your mama and your daddy. Now she's looking at him. You got to understand her situation. She's looking at him, and she ain't been out of the penitentiary long. She ain't been off dope long, even though she's back on dope now. And now she's feeling that sense of overwhelming pressure coming down on her. And she don't know what to do. She don't know what to think. Because now she's feeling trapped. She's looking around. There's nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. Her life, what she just left, is over. She walked away from everything that she had. She let Keith put her in a situation where she compromised herself. So he already knows she don't have no problem laying on her back. You understand? See, the game is real cold. You dealing with some people in the streets that ain't got no compassion for none of that. And he sees her as dollar bills. He sees her as dollar bills. So she cries and he tries to console her, but when that don't work, he gets aggressive and he tells her, look, enough of that. Enough of that. He said, I'm going to give you a few days to get yourself straight, and then we going to work. I got a house I'm going to put you in on the other side of town, and this is what I'm going to expect. And she listens to him. She doesn't respond at all. She's totally numb. So when he leaves, he tells the girls to take care of her. And they do that. They take care of her. Because they understand that by him being with her and telling them to take care of her, she understands and they understand that she's part of the family now. It ain't no getting away. Where can she go? What can she do? So when he leaves, like I said, they break out that dope. Because they're in the same situation. They want to be numb about it all too. They don't want to feel all of the pain that you got to feel in association with living this lifestyle. Right? So they break out the cocaine and all the other things that you do. You know what I'm saying? When you're trying to numb yourself to the realities of the situation that you're facing. And she goes all the way. Now she's back. Brandy is back in that mindset that she was in when she was using really, really heavy. She's back in that mindset of where, you know, she thinks that drugs can help her ease the pain. She's out of control. So a couple of days later, he moves her to another spot. He's got her in another spot. And she's got her first client. That's what they call themselves, clients. And he comes in and he sees her and he's blown away at her beauty. They cleaned her up real good. And she performs whatever role she has to perform for him. And then he leaves, and then another one comes in, and then another one comes in. And then a guy comes in that she recognizes. A very wealthy guy. She's seen him on TV. And he likes her. He's blown away by her. And he tells her that he wants to treat her special. He wants to get her away from this. Not knowing that he's already worked out an understanding with the dope boy. You know? For her to be his and his alone. And that he would put her up in a penthouse to where whenever he called her, she came. She would be able to go and do whatever she wanted to do. She would have credit cards to buy whatever she wanted to buy. She just had to agree to the terms. See, this wasn't about being a sugar daddy. That's not what this was. He wasn't being a sugar daddy. He was co-owner. See, a lot of people glamorize that, but it's nothing to be glamorized about. See, he had a stake in her. He had a stake in her just like the dope boy did. The dope boy wanted her to be treated special. And now that's what she got. So she agreed. But he told her she was going to have to get off of the dope. She was going to have to kick it. So she told him that she would. And she tried hard. And she kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. And he sent her to rehab. And she'd get clean and she'd come out. And now you're a year in. She's a year into this lifestyle. And she's getting there. She's looking good, but she's accepted her role. And lo and behold, guess who pops back up and happens to see her out one evening? It was Keith. He had gotten himself together. He had moved on with his life. But when he saw her, he felt like he was pulled back into the past. And when he approached her, she looked at him, he looked at her. They didn't know what to say to each other. But he could tell that look in her eyes. She was somebody else. She was somebody else. And he knew he was responsible for that. He knew that he was responsible for her being the person that she is that day that he saw her. What do you do? He asked her like loud. He said, how you doing? She said, I'm doing cold. Cold. But it was still a tenderness to it. It was almost like she was numb and she was playing a role, you know, not ever really sharing how she really felt or who she really was with anybody. She had become an impersonator. See, that's what a lot of people in that business do, so that they can cope with the realities of the lifestyle that they have been forced into. Don't get it twisted. She didn't choose this. They made it seem to her that she chose it. See, that's how the manipulation works. They need to convince the woman that she chose this, and this is as good as it's going to get for her. So once she accepts that, she'll do what they needed to do without running. Without running. So her whole mindset is twisted. But she's clean now. She's clean. She's clean of the dope. But she's not clean of the low self-esteem. See, that low self-esteem has a bigger hold on her than any of the drugs that she ever had in her system. And she tries her best to pick herself up. Every day she tells herself that things are going to be better, but it never gets better. It never gets better. And she struggles every day with the reality of that. So Keith, he's standing there and he doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know what to say. Saying I'm sorry is not going to be enough. And he understands that too. But he says it anyway. And she looks at him. Her eyes are just blank. Her eyes are blank. Sorry for what? And he tells her, I didn't know. I didn't know this was going to happen. And she said, well, life happens. Numb, cold. She wants it. Part of her wants to open up to him, but why? Why? He couldn't help her now. Yeah, she had all the money that she might want to have. She had a nice place to live. She had credit cards, but she wasn't happy. She wasn't free. She wasn't free. But she didn't know what to do. He couldn't help her. He's partly to blame for why she's there. So he just walks away and leaves her. And when she gets back to her penthouse, she cries. She's all alone. Nobody's there. The guy that she knows that put her up only comes on the weekends. She's all alone. No dog, no nothing. Nothing. And they got cameras in the place so they can watch her. So she's captive. In her own lap of luxury, she's still a captive. Nobody's coming to save her. Nobody's coming to save her. That's what ride or die is. See, the one that usually ends up on the lower end of this ride or die concept is the woman. But wait a minute, that's part of the game. But see, most people play the game and don't know all the rules of the game. It just looks good. It looks fun. You think it's fun, but it's not. So that weekend, when her guy comes to visit, she's relapsed again. And she tells him she can't take it anymore. She can't take it anymore. She can't handle this. She wants to go home. She wants to be with her mother. She don't want this life no more. But she's so burned, she can't trust any man. The only person in her life that she believes that she can trust at this point is her mother. Her mother's never lied to her, never abandoned her. And she desperately needs to get back to her mother. And she tells him, she begs him, please, let me go. Let me go home. Please help me. Let me go home. And he tells her the cold reality. He tells her, I can't let you go. It's not me. It's not me. It's him. It's the dope boy. He tells her, if it's not me, it's going to be somebody else. But he tells her, I care about you. And I want to spend as much time with you as I can. But she looks at him, she tells him, she says, you're married. You'll never belong to me fully. She said, and I don't want to do this. You got to keep in mind, y'all. She's in her late 20s, early 30s, man. Somewhere around there, late 20s. And she's trapped. Not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go, not knowing who she can talk to. She's stuck in this life. She's stuck in this life because of Keith. Because he convinced her about this ride or die concept. Who did that benefit? See, that's what we do. You don't want to be about this life. I'm telling you. It's a whole lot of twists and turns to it. It's a whole lot of twists and turns to it. And it gets real dark. But that's the business. I'm just telling you the business, y'all. Some can take it, some can't. Some can take it, some can't. But let me tell you something. If you ever find yourself in a situation like that, if you happen to be listening to this show and you find yourself in a situation like that where you feel trapped, reach out to somebody discreetly and ask for help. Don't let that feeling of worthlessness handcuff you to that life. Don't do it. Don't continue to believe the lies of the individuals that are around you that say they care about you but are forcing you to do what you're doing because you're not doing it voluntarily. You might think you are, but you're not. Your mind is trapped. And it doesn't matter about the money. It doesn't matter about the credit cards. It doesn't matter about the penthouse. You're a piece of meat to them. Don't do it. Get away from it. And if you know somebody like that, help them. Help them. Don't be the coward that Keith was. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting so